Are you an entrepreneur or ready to become a boss? Welcome to Hawaii Boss, the business podcast made in Hawaii, where you will hear from island movers and shakers on who they are and their impact on our state. And now, step into the office of your host for Hawaii Boss, David Pettijohn.
Aloha, Hawaii Boss crew. We are here today. Well, we're on a special mission to go see our friend, Ryan McArdle. We want to introduce him and talk to him about some important things. We're in his office because we think he has some answers to how a federal agent, law enforcement agent, such as himself, makes it here in Hawaii and makes it work for him and his family and his career. So we want to welcome Mr. Ryan McArdle here to Hawaii Boss. Mr. McArdle, welcome.
Well, thanks, Dave. I appreciate this opportunity. This is pretty unique. I don't think I've never done anything quite like this. So this will be a cool experience. So yeah, thanks for the invite.
Well, sure. Well, full disclosure, I have to say, Mr. Ryan McArdle and I go back in history a long time. Actually, he probably doesn't know this, but when we were in high school together, a ways back, he left for the military. He left for the Army a year before I did. It was kind of one of those things. He doesn't know this, but it was kind of one of the things that was my decision to go. I saw some of these guys going out from high school and going out into the military. You know, what made you want to go out and do that? We're going to talk more about your career broadly and where we went to high school together, Grants Pass High School. But kind of what led you? What was your kind of coming up that says, I want to go serve my country in this way, especially as an Army Ranger?
Well, Dave, that's a complex question. I mean, I've always been going back as a teen, in my formative years. I've always been a military history buff, right?
Okay.
So I always like reading stuff like, all the books and stuff, World War II and Vietnam and everything. And then I was always kind of, within that, I always had affinity for like the elite units, like the Rangers, the Green Berets,
right,
all that. And so I was always drawn to that. I wanted that challenge. And then, as you know, Grants Pass is a small town. And, if you want to make something of yourself, it's hard to stay there. And there's just, the opportunities are limited. So for me, going in the Army and in the Ranger battalions, the 75th Ranger Regiment,
mm-hmm.
It was kind of a calling for me. And there was a pathway there. And so I took it. And then, that was kind of the thing that started me on this path that's led me all the way back to here to Hawaii here in 2021, over 30 years later. So, I mean, it was obviously the right decision for me. And, it opened up, that was the start of a path and opened up a lot of doors on my journey.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is a journey. I think all of us are on this work-life journey that we're trying to figure out, kind of how it works. But, for folks like you, I mean, there's a lot of folks here that choose that route out of high school to go into the military. Was there something in your family or something like that? Was there a history? Like you said, it was a calling, but maybe was there?
Actually, there's really no strong military tradition in my family. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I had an uncle that was in the Marines, but he just did one stint. It's not like I wasn't like a legacy. It wasn't like a legacy option for me. It was just
mm-hmm.
something that I felt very passionate about,
mm-hmm.
just inherently.
Right.
I just read all those books of the Rangers in Vietnam on long range patrols. You see the John Wayne movie, the Green Berets.
Sure.
When I watch that, I read that, I'm like, I want to experience that. So,
mm-hmm.
It's funny because, I was kind of blessed, I guess you could say, with having a vision of something that I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
and I absolutely made it manifest.
Yeah.
And not everyone can say that, at a young age. Like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, and then life gets in the way, and then all of a sudden, they do something totally different. I mean, I'll give you an anecdote. So
Okay.
again, I'm dating myself, but so we had our 30th, 30 years. I don't know. It's been a long time, but
right.
High school reunion, quasi. We had to cancel a bunch of it because of all the COVID restrictions.
So it was your 30 year. It was 30 years because guess what? Mine's 30. Coming up 30 this year.
30-year high school reunion, and so we're all at this picnic area, the ones that could make it, and we're going through some of the yearbooks and some of the books that we all passed around and wrote, like, what do you see yourself doing in a year? What do you see yourself doing in 5 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you probably remember stuff like that.
Right.
And we kind of all sat around, and I kind of read everyone's. I was like, and I kind of took the lead as like, I read everyone's thing, and it's all, we're laughing and joking. And, here we are we're all middle-aged now, and we're what our 18-year-old selves wrote. And so what I wrote was, what do you see yourself doing in a year? And here I am. And I already was in the delayed entry program, so I already knew I was going to military, going to Ranger contract. So what I had wrote was, what do you see yourself doing in a year? Was like jumping out of airplanes and shooting things. That's paraphrasing, right? Jumping out, and that was like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
That's right. Yeah, I'm going to be doing that.
And then what are you going to be doing in, I don't know, 10 years, 6 years, whatever? And I'm like telling other people to jump out of airplanes and shoot things. And that is exactly, verbatim what I did. I made that real. And
I'll tell you, I was not.
There's very few people that wrote in that book that actually lived out what they said they were going to do.
Right. Well, I think it is unique among folks, especially that young. Like, yeah, for sure. I did not know what I wanted to do. I was following guys like you. Like, okay, I'm not sure what I want to do. I was, messenger and these guys heading out. These are sort of the heroes of that were heading out and some badass dudes that were martial arts, and these guys were kind of comfortable with themselves and showed a lot of confidence, and it was good to see that around. And then when you came back after finishing Ranger school, you were we came down to the gym. I remember one time, and you're like, yeah, because you were full on SWAT king, and man, you're yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. It was really at that young age, having started to develop a vision to even start that is pretty unique. Yeah.
Well, I think, and this having served yourself,
mm-hmm.
One thing that the military, especially in a unit such as the Ranger Regiment, it just instills an incredible amount of discipline. If you're not disciplined, you're never going to survive. So you develop that, and that discipline to maintain standards, to perform under extreme stress. Those are tools that I use to this day. Those are tools that I've used throughout my career, and that environment. It just set me up for success throughout my entire adult life. So that is really the main takeaway. If you want to, we're talking about career and life and all this.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to achieve anything,
mm-hmm.
you have to set goals, and then you have to be disciplined enough to figure out what you need to do to achieve those goals, and then have the drive to make it to get there.
Right. So you felt you had that from before you even went in. You kind of had that already. You had kind of the workings. Did you do sports or something like that when you were young, or was there something that you were really?
I didn't really play a lot of sports. I really was never. I wasn't like a jock. I wasn't like athletic. I was kind of
right.
In fact, I was the exact opposite. In high school, I was the art geek and the drama nerd and the band geek.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a contrast. Like, oh yeah, this guy that was like in the marching band and in the drama class and the art class, and then this guy goes off and he does all this stuff where he's Army Ranger, Green Beret. It's like if people don't. It's like it's like a totally different side of me. That the people are surprised, like people that know me through that, and they're like, "Oh, look, I used to do all this and that," and they're like, they have no idea. But yeah, I was never like in sports. I wasn't like the physical.
Well, but
or anything like that.
But you mentioned that you were in the drama, and you still chose. I remember still vividly, as an interlude, I think in one of the plays that you had a sword fight, and that's very athletic.
I remember that.
that you were using still that that strength and that thing to as part of, you were still driven, even though it was that venue, you were still driven.
Yeah. That's well, yeah. I mean, because you want to. I mean, no matter what if you're doing something artistic, like for me, I'm just speaking for myself. Doing something artistic, you're doing something creative. You want to be the best. Like that's really, you want it. If you're going to put something out there, whether it's a fake sword fight or a painting or a improv skit, you want it to be the best. You want it, you want the impact. You want you want everyone to absorb that. Be like, walk away was like, yeah, that was pretty cool.
If you put in the effort, you might as well put in the effort. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And that plays into just everything, like I don't do anything like half-assed.
Right.
I'm like, if I believe in something, I'm going to give it 110%. Because my name's on it, and I want to have pride in that. And again, that just goes, it's full circle. So you think in military, the self-discipline, and then, my creative side, if I like, my later years, like I'm in now, and you can kind of see I have my microphone. I can record music, and I'm a perfectionist. I want something. If I'm going to put something out there, I want to know this is good.
Well, yeah, because it's a representation of you. You don't want to throw something out, or that's the kind of stuff that McArdle puts out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, you want your name is attached to it. You have some certain pride about that. Now tell me, when there were times, though, I'm sure through this leadership and learning process that you've grown through this, I'm wondering, was it in Ranger School, or maybe there was some different training that was going on that you were involved in where it was sucking really bad.
Yeah. And so, boy, there's a lot of examples for that.
So what was, as a trend, what was the come out of that for you? Like, okay, what special something you had to learn about yourself to now when the super suck came on?
So I think I can distill this down into pretty much, there's the suck factor. You're cold, you're wet, you're hungry, you're tired.
Gotta love Washington State.
Those are the physical things that you deal with, but the thing that your strongest muscle is this right here, right? So this will want to quit way before this has to quit. So that is like this, you have to have that strong will, right, to overcome just any kind of adversity, like physical, mental, and if you can. You build that muscle here, and you build that confidence. It's like whatever they're going to throw at me. Lack of sleep, lack of food, cold, the elements. I'm going to go in some space here, and I'm going to suck it because I know I can endure and still take care of business and do the job.
Right.
But that's something that you have to convince yourself. Like not because people, they a lot of people, they experience some adversity. And they're like, all right, I can't do this.
Right.
They look for that escape hatch and they take it. Whereas, if you believe in what you're doing and you think it's important, then no amount of adversity is going to deter you, and you're just going to keep driving on. And again, that's another thing about the self-discipline and everything.
Now, did you have all that, or did you think the process of becoming a Ranger, living in the regiment, living that lifestyle, living the life, did that instill ultimately sort of settle that in permanently? Was it unnatural at first, and it kind of got more natural?
First of it is just the will to challenge yourself, right? So, I think that's inherent in anybody that wants to volunteer for something like that. They're like, and then that's the first element, and then the other element is like when you get that first taste of adversity, what are you going to do about it?
Right. You have
Right?
choices.
Like, oh, this sucks. Well, this is harder than I thought. I'm going to go back to the couch and eat Cheetos or what have
Right.
you. Or you'd be like, all right, I started on this. This is starting to suck, but you know what? Look at the legacy that I'm trying to live up to. Look at the Rangers that stormed the beach in D-Day and climbed the cliffs at Point du Hoc, or all these other, these guys had it way worse than me. I'm just sitting out here getting rained on at Fort Lewis on a
right. I got my water. I can go get some more water over there.
So,
I don't have dead buddies.
So,
I'm trying to.
Yeah. So you're like, okay, I'm not going to die. I'm going to be uncomfortable. I'm going to be hungry. I'm tired. But people, this country needs people to be able to suck it up to do great things. Whether it's the military or it's in academia or science or math or engineering, everyone has to deal with adversity. And if everyone just sold like a house of cards every time they got, theoretically punched in the face, where would we be?
Right. Yeah. You gotta stand for something. You have to be, counted on. You have to be, reliable.
Right. And so the first time you endure something, that sucks, and you make it out the other side, you're like, okay, yeah, I can do this. And then that builds your confidence to continue to do other things.
I have a story that you told me one time. Listen, I for some reason I remember all your stories, Ryan.
Okay.
You were there was some, I don't know if it was a lieutenant or something like that. You guys were on a 5-mile run coming back into base, and then you guys were like true, kind of slowing down. And he says, keep it going. The gate opened back up or something like that. You went out the other side and you did another 5 or something like that. And so that's the kind of thing. It's like, okay, your boundary 5 miles. I got this one, and then all of a sudden he says, oh, we're going to do another 5, and you do it. All of a sudden your boundary becomes like, I just blew through 10 like nothing.
Right, and then too, sometimes they do that just to test your resolve. Hey, we're going on this run, and you're going back to the barracks, and you think you're done. And your mind's like, oh, I just got to get back to the barracks, and then you just run right past the barracks, and you're like, hey, wait a minute, so you have no idea how long this is going to go, and that's some people can't deal with that. They just
the unknown.
Yeah, they want it in the beginning and an end. They just know I just got to last to this point, and then I'm done. But they get to that point, and there's it's a false hill. There's another hill beyond. So what are you going to do? You got to just dig deeper and keep going.
Well, you see the stories. Listen, of the last, almost our entire lifetime of war that we've participated in and seen. How's your ideal of war, and maybe this is a little bit, too esoteric, but ideal of war and maybe leadership, more importantly, war, is it changed from when you first got in and later as you're sort of your middle age, not necessarily as a political statement or anything like that, but just sort of what makes it worth that sacrifice, or what makes us willing to go in and do that sacrifice, 12 years in the Ranger Battalion. I mean, that's,
well, first of all, I didn't spend that long in the Ranger Battalion, but the point is the same. I mean, first of all, you have to totally believe what you're doing is right.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, this country's been through a lot of stuff in the last, think about it. This September is 20 years since 9/11, 20 years. It just seems like it was yesterday, right?
Well, then
20 years back, and we've been at war the whole time, and here we are just right now. We're pulling our troops, leaving Afghanistan. We're like, okay, well, what else are we going to do here? So there's so much politics that plays into that. As a soldier, you're not. It's your job just to kind of follow orders, but and I can't speak this because I didn't experience this, because a lot of the post 9/11 stuff, I was out of the military.
Sure.
At least active duty. I work with the military now as a civilian. But, these guys and gals, they're constantly rotating in and out of these theaters. And, it's a grind because of 3-4 deployments in, they're like, what have we accomplished, right?
Right.
And
how much
that's
trauma? yeah, how much, I don't mean to interrupt, but kind of add on to that, how much trauma or how much, what was our, what, what did we win? Again, not win or lose, but again, was it worth it? Maybe.
I mean, I honestly, I don't have an answer for that. I think history is going to judge
Right.
ultimately whether our investments have made a difference. I think they made a difference in the near term. Obviously, there hasn't been another 9/11. I think that's not an accident.
Hmm.
But that doesn't mean there can't be one in the future when things settle down. We have other
Priorities.
focuses on other things, and then
Right.
some other organization or persons or parties decide, hey, I'm going to take this opportunity to do something crazy, and then this like history repeats itself. Like we always have, look at our history. We've always had like periods of peace and calm, and then something happens, and the fires get lit, and we find ourselves in some kind of conflict. I mean, I'm sure it'll happen again. Whether we pull out of Afghanistan tomorrow or a year from now, we'll find ourselves somewhere in the future, and that's why we need motivated people, men, women, to take on that mantle and be on that watch and endure the discomforts.
Right, for those challenges out there, because they do exist, and I'm glad I spent my, I only did 3 years, but it's been a blessing to me and my family. My son right now is in the Air Force, and he's been in a couple of years, and he's not that we have a large legacy either, but the military's been very good, and also for you spent time in the military, but then you continued this effort in government related work, law enforcement and things, and you continue to do that now here in Hawaii. How's that different from, okay, military life? We get it's different, especially in the Rangers and in the Army. It's different from government work necessarily, but it is still a federal position. And so, walk us through what you do as a federal law enforcement officer here in Hawaii. If we don't want to give any your methods away, of course, but what sort of cases come across your desk that would say this is a threat to us? Or
gotcha. So I lost you there for a second. Somehow our internet kind of got jumbled up, but I think you're kind of going to some of it, like in law enforcement and military affairs and defense department affairs. Like what is it that I see now that's relevant, that kind of ties everything? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I think those things are, well, now that you've had this experience, you're a leader among men in government affairs, really, because you spent that time in the Army. Now you've transitioned to other government agencies using your leadership skills. Now you're using that in your federal law enforcement position. How does that how does that translate your leadership skills, and how do you apply yourself as a more mature, sort of experienced person now in your leadership role?
So now a lot of what I do is before I was kind of like along for the ride, it's like, what are we doing? Like, where are we going? Right. And now I have, kind of a breadth of experience and a profile where, people come to me like, hey, tell us what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? So I can kind of reach that level of subject matter expertise, some
Sure.
people would call it, where we want to do this exercise, we want to do this security test, we want to help us out. What are we doing wrong? Like, can you, what kind of training do we need to shore up our vulnerabilities? So that's a lot of what I do now, and it's kind of gratifying because I can use all of my experience and everything I've seen and learned, and guys that I've worked with, and it kind of gives me a certain amount of gravitas when it comes to these topics. And I can go into an environment and I can speak at length on certain issues, and then I can kind of see like the faces of the people I'm doing, like the light bulb goes on, and like, oh wow, this guy really knows what he's talking about, and they apply it. And then that's very gratifying for me, because I'm not that guy in the middle of the action. I'm like
Right.
off to the side, like, hey, do you guys think about this? Do you guys think about that?
It's
And
more strategic thinking and sort of broad, large picture
well, it's more
rather
of like
than.
a training and mentorship
Okay.
kind of role. I mean, I do certain other things directly, but from time to time, but you know, you know, just kind of showing, teaching, mentoring, advising. Uh, that's kind of where I'm at now in a lot of things, and that has a lot of impact because again, I have 30 years plus of experience
Hmm.
in these things, and it just comes naturally to me to be able to to kind of impart that. And quite honestly, I've been very blessed, Dave. I've worked with some of the best people this country's ever produced, as far as skill
Professionals.
leaders, people that have just incredible skill sets. And I'm like a
Geniuses.
sponge. I'm a sponge. Like I absorb everything, and
Mhm.
I'm happy to pass that along to anybody that's willing to hey, what does Ryan McArdle have to say?
Right.
I'd be like, everything I learned over here, it's yours. Like,
Right.
use it. If it works for you, use it.
Mhm.
Be better. Improve yourself. Like,
Right.
fire.
Yeah, it's nice how we move through life where we're kind of from being needing mentors to a point where we gain experience. And I really didn't know that there was that even process that happened, that we start off kind of new and we need mentors, and we kind of and the military kind of has that already set up, that you have leadership in front of you kind of mentoring you along the way, and that's great. And now this great experience that you have. And so you say consulting types of things, advising. A lot of people parlay that kind of thing, especially here in Hawaii. There's different military based, or there's NCIS Hawaii, but different things that a person like you might be able to consult with, or did you even see that as a potential career opportunity for you?
Are you talking about the CBS show that just started?
Yes, the CBS show NCIS Hawaii.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So I've met with some of the producers there, and I've talked with them and kind of given a few things. And I actually in a group that looks at the scripts
Uh-huh.
that and then kind of says, hey, this is kind of silly. This wouldn't happen.
Right.
And I give them notes about the certain things.
So those endless hours in the green room somehow sort of paying off now.
My drama, Grand Spanish High School drama training is coming back because obviously they're creating a show. It's a piece of entertainment.
Right.
So they're not making a documentary. So
right.
So they're trying to draw that line. We're like, hey, we want to make something entertaining and compelling, but yet we want to have it couched in some semblance of reality.
Right.
So that's where somebody like me comes in. Helps them a little bit, and I'm not the only one doing things like that.
Sure. Yeah. Well, it takes a lot, and it's amazing. Hawaii has this large film industry now, and different things.
Right.
Do you see yourself 30 years sounds like a government retirement maybe coming up soon. They have these and these kind of things
that
interest you.
Yeah, I've had conversations with the folks over there, and hopefully when I retire here relatively soon, it would be a thrill for me to do that full time. I mean,
sure,
I've served my country 30 plus years, and to kind of use that experience and then go back to some kind of creative field, which, as I've alluded to before, that's kind of like my soul. Again, drama, geek, music, band nerd, and all this. So it would just be very synergistic to use all my government military experience and then to go back and apply it as some creative medium like film and television. So
sure,
I'm very interested in that, and fingers crossed. But hopefully that comes to pass.
Sure,
it would be it'd be a perfect thing for me, in my retirement years, after I'm done working for the government,
right?
I can do something creative like that. So yeah,
but still they could pay the bills, and it's real work too. It's you're actually supplying real advice to folks so that it can be as real as possible and create drama and entertainment, again creative, allowing this creative side when you're working in a in the old Ranger Battalion there's not a lot of creativity, right? No, don't color outside the box.
Like,
right?
you're like, you're going to do this, this, and this. You're like, yes, sir.
Do not step out of that line. So this is nice. It's sort of freeing now, sort of too, and you're exploring those things.
I get to tap into that other side of myself.
I think that's what sometimes people miss. They choose a career and then they put everything on hold. And I'm not saying you did that or I mean, we all have that tendency because, we don't know, but that we can later explore that in life and maybe say, maybe there is something that I can do is a real thing. I think that, that I think people are becoming aware of that there's stuff that we can continue to do. Well, that becomes a predicament for all the folks who are here, maybe retiring in Hawaii.
Right.
Maybe you could talk about that. Like, okay, how do people make it? I know I think there's some DOD housing, there's some different things, but what's the struggle? Yeah, I know. What's the struggle?
I don't know that one. I mean, that's a great, I'm still trying to figure that out. If you have any advice for me, please.
I'm not a financial planner, so.
Yeah. Well, if you know any, let me know. But I mean, I'm looking at that myself again. I would like to stay here in Hawaii once I retire, so. But I have to be able to, find something that I can sustain myself in. So
just a 3-bedroom house, only $1 million. If you want to buy a house and settle for good, easy.
All, just I got that in couch cushions.
That's right.
Like everybody else, right?
That's right. No, you have a 3-bedroom. You get the kids' room, and then you rent out the other 2 rooms. Then you might be able to afford the house.
It's those are obviously, I don't care who you are, whether you come from the government, military, or private sector, and you're trying to make it here. Those are challenges. For anybody, they're trying to.
Those are real challenges.
Figure that out.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, it's getting more and more expensive. So.
Yeah, and then on top of that, a $6 gallon of milk. That's just to start. It is very expensive, but again, it's a wonderful lifestyle here. A lot of people want to stay because of the outdoor, the life, and how beautiful it is, and then also there's these great industries that are coming up. Film. There's different healthcare options, different stuff that's happening. But that's one thing that's nice too is that you have a large hospital, which also keeps folks around if they've developed their care there into retirement. They use Tripler. And so that's there's also some resources there. It may not be the most world renowned sort of hospital. But
if you're military, have your retirement, your VA benefits, and all that.
Right.
And that's obviously a good thing. The VA. I mean, if you don't, folks out there, you're thinking about if you've been in the military, haven't used your VA benefits, you're making a huge mistake. It's a huge benefit that you've earned by virtue of your service.
Unbelievable. I mean, I used it for college, and it's even better now than when I went. It was GI Bill pre 9/11, and now post. I mean, it's like basically they pay for your school, they'll pay for give you a stipend while you're going, and it's good. So highly recommended, right? Highly recommended.
Yeah, definitely, and even for housing in your VA home loans, that's a great.
Yeah, it's like no down payment. I mean, you don't have to have this 20% loan. I mean, we won't. I don't know how we could have done it. We would have been renters probably most of our life with it if we didn't have that option. So lots of benefits. So staying is hopefully an option for you. Hopefully, we'll see your face on billboards.
Well, I don't know about that.
Or you're telling. How does it do? Do you have to join the union and all that kind of stuff?
Maybe, I don't know. Again, this is kind of something maybe in the future. I have to kind of put the pieces together, make it work. We'll see what happens.
Hey, it's good to explore.
It's all my day job in the meantime.
That's right. I think we all have to work to pay the bills. While creative exploration is fun, it does not necessarily always pay the bills, but it's nice to have that sort of flexibility to be able to live in Hawaii, Ryan, and hopefully you'll be able to find a situation that makes Hawaii work because it is a beautiful place to live.
I'm working on it. Yeah, you got to work those. You got to work. I mean, network. I mean, here's the other thing too. I mean, and Dave, I'm sure you know this. And this comes from your military background and my military. You have to be tireless. Like you want a
Mm-hmm.
goal. There's something you want. Nobody's going to give you anything.
Mm-mm.
You know, if you want to make something happen, you got to figure it out. You got to put in the work.
Mm-hmm.
And in my experience in life, you put in the work, you get the reward. You know, and that goes to that applies to your career, your post career, what you want to do in your personal life. You got to put in the work. Right?
Yeah.
You put in the work, you get the reward. I mean, that's
talks. How does it say? Talks cheap.
Yes.
Talks cheap, and so you gotta produce, and you gotta produce on time.
You gotta have a plan. You gotta follow through. You gotta learn lessons.
Be open. Be open for that.
Discouraged. Yeah, you gotta take criticism. You gotta absorb setbacks, and then and dive in and keep going.
Right. It's just it's that continuous drive to fall forward, to move forward, regardless of whatever happens. You get knocked down sideways. Okay, move forward. You see these I think it's some of the SEALs training where you're just carrying a 5-gallon bucket of water on the ground through just a serpentine thing of sort of ditch, and just dragging it for hours,
Yeah, I can relate
and says,
to that.
it's just it's just mindless sort of your body, you push and it's push and your mind, like you said, your mind is the key to unlocking all of this.
You gotta have a strong will, and you gotta believe what you're doing and get up every day, strap on your boots, and do the work to achieve your goals, your dreams, whatever they are.
Well, and that's again, I think a beautiful sort of tying up as we finish this episode of Hawaii Boss, because we want to spend some more time with you as you again continue on in things, but yeah, putting in that effort, putting in the work. That's what this Hawaii Boss says is going to make things work for you out there, to the Hawaii Boss crew. So doesn't mean you have to join the military, but we do, as we learn different things about ourselves and we find out what we want to become. If you find that and focus on your purpose, that all of these things, this mission driven, I think, as Ryan McArdle and the Rangers would, I think, put it, that focus on the mission and executing that mission, and good things happen, because what happens usually if you do it per plan is the results come. The results come.
It may not be overnight, but you keep driving and working, and eventually, you will achieve what you're striving for.
Mm-hmm. Well, right at the end here, we do a quick. It's called Pauhana. We're finishing up, and a couple of tough questions at you. We throw them at you. Okay, furthest, most exotic place you've ever been to? I mean, world travel. I mean, Rangers. They go everywhere. Where's
exotic place? Wow.
How about dirtiest place?
Dirtiest place? Djibouti.
Djibouti is the dirtiest place.
Yeah, in Africa.
Uh-huh. It was there certain just about the smell, or was it just the
everything?
Everything.
Yeah, it's like a very impoverished country on the Horn of Africa. It's right next to Somalia and Ethiopia.
Sure. Yeah, I spent time in Somalia, and boy, I didn't know what poverty was until I went to Africa.
Right.
I mean,
that region particularly.
Yeah, we don't know what poverty is. Mm. We don't know what hard luck is. Yeah, there's stories to tell about. We'll go back there, but so okay. Next question. You ever had to bail your buddy out of jail?
No, I don't. No, not really.
Well, how about did you had to get a buddy out of a tight spot?
I'm sure there is something, and nothing comes to mind immediately. But
right on.
Yeah.
Well, as far as your physical, how do you keep that up now? Because again, you're getting older. I'm not saying, well, you're a year older than me, so you're an old man to me. So, what do you do to stay in shape, or do you not? It's just naturally okay for you.
No, it's not natural. I mean, the older you get, the easier it is to kind of let yourself go. I don't know, fall apart, whatever you want to call it. It's just like, I mean, it's like we talked about a little bit earlier. It's like you take pride in what you do.
Right.
I take pride in my fitness, and I have to be in shape to do a lot of what I do. I don't want somebody like waiting, I don't want to be like bringing up the rear, like, hey, where's Ryan? This old
Right,
man
right.
can't
They're
hang.
waiting on McArdle again.
Yeah, exactly. So, I have to put in the work again,
Right.
So, yeah, I take care of myself. I don't, that's just part of me. I mean, I can't not do things maintain some kind of physical fitness.
Because that's just natural. That's just been a part of your life for basically ever.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, again, we can learn lots from you, and we are glad that we were able to get into your space today and share from your great experience. And I hope we can have you on in the near future, Ryan. And best of luck for everything for you.
Well, Dave, this has been pretty cool. Like I said, I've never done anything quite like this, so I appreciate the opportunity. This is
for sure.
I hope your audience out there, I hope they get something. They get one little thing out of this, and this was well worth it.
Hey, yeah, this is real talk. This is about what we've gone through that is real, and that we can. I think if people apply this in their lives, they can really, there can be a real change, and they can be effective and become as successful as you or some of the other folks that we've had on here. They can share that same. It's not a mystery. We're trying to kind of bring it past beyond the cloistered walls, so
right.
that you can share and we don't have to go through the same experiences you did to find out which way we want to go. So again, thanks, my brother, and we'll see you soon. Maybe we're going to go maybe we'll go run up Cocoa Head here pretty soon.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Or maybe a slow walk.
Yeah, nice and easy little trot.
yeah, that's right. Okay, my brother.
All right. Thanks, Dave.
Aloha.
Make sure to subscribe to Hawaii Boss and follow us on social media at Hawaii Boss Podcast at the links in the description. We'll see you soon in the boss's office.